Hey guys, I'm Jonathan Andrade, and today we're gonna analyze episode 3, which is called Religion versus Culture from Queer Muslim Stories. And on this podcast, they focus on, religion versus culture, their definition, and about LGBTQ and it's how to fit in with their Muslim religion. And also they brought some key points from they compare it with their Muslim community. And I'm here with my girlfriend. Maybe you can introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Brianna, and I am currently a junior at UNT, and I will be helping Jonathan talk about the LGBTQ community and how that fits into culture and religion. So the first thing that I wanted to ask you, Jonathan, is when listening to the podcast, they did mention how they believe that religion and culture kind of go hand in hand when it comes to accepting or not accepting the LGBTQ community.
Yeah.
And they said that religion is sort of like a vague idea. And I did remember that they brought in the concept of marriage and how they believe that if someone is in love with someone, they should get married. But culture is kind of like the guideline of how they are supposed to get married and how that plays out. So, like I said, religion is kind of like the vague idea, and then culture comes in as like kind of like a guidebook of how you are supposed to do it. Yeah. So, beginning early on, you can tell that religion and culture kind of do go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about this?
Or for me, they have, how they're different religion and culture, but they kind of like connect together, I can say that religion is pretty much like, just like, how do you say, like faith and like spiritually wise, about who you like worship or like God or like most like different religions, and I know that culture is like a social heritage, like kind of like human like beings. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand, and like you said, it does come back to people's backgrounds, their culture, kind of like a tradition, like what they grow up hearing and everything.
Yeah, what their parents tell them, since little kids.
And I guess we can start off by saying early on, listening to the podcast, they focused on Muslim principles, and I guess we can both say we both share the same faith and the same religion, which is Christianity, and it differs a lot from Muslim principles, obviously, but listening to the podcast, there were some similarities that I could listen to when it came to the topic of LGBTQ and how they classified these type of people within their religion and within their culture. And I thought it was pretty cool because sometimes we don't really think about other religions and how they can be similar. But I was listening to their personal experiences and their culture. It was kind of cool to compare it to our religion and to see how they believe some of the same things that we did, which you never would have thought because it's a completely different religion, but there are some like different similarities, I guess you could say. So I also saw that they talked about how the cultural system is very discriminatory towards this community and how they use religion to sort of back up their discrimination. I personally believe that, like they say, a religion is an accepting and loving concept, but just because you accept someone, it doesn't mean, just because you don't accept someone for who they are, I feel like they use this to judge people, and I do disagree with the judgmental part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that happening a lot. And not only in like Muslim culture, but like I said, also in our religion.
Yeah, our religion. Mm-hmm.
I do see a lot of judgment, and I feel like that also gives the religion a bad name, which is not something that we stand for.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like I said, it kind of ties back to using religion as a way to back up what they believe culturally, and that's why it makes certain religions look wrong, because that they judge, and it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah. So you're talking about like how like every like depends on the religion, like talk about like the gay, you know, like the lesbians, just the gay topic in general, you know, like with men and man marriage and like female and female marriage. You know, like for us, like our religion, like Christianity, is like God created, you know, just Adam and Eve, you know, from the beginning. It wasn't a guy and a guy or girl and a girl. It was a guy and a girl, you know?
Yeah.
So, and even the Bible says, like, there's no, like, what's it called? Like, it shouldn't be men with men. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and that's why, like, people, like when you hear, like, when people say, like, they're gay and, like, with their religion, and they'll be like, oh, like, they start, like, discriminating them, you know, because you're not supposed to be that in the religion, and it just becomes a whole thing. And, like, from our, like, community now, it's just, like, you know, everyone is, like, soft, to be honest. So what do you think about this topic?
Yes, like you said, it's more common now for they have a more open platform for people to come out. Like in this community, they can come out as whatever it is that they wish to. And like you said, it's kind of hard for someone who strongly believes in their conviction that these people are doing wrong for them to speak about it, because they feel like they are being discriminated and everything. And like I said previously, I feel like a lot of it has to do with the judgmental aspect of it, because like I said, you can completely disagree with what a person is saying, but you don't necessarily have to make them feel bad for it or discriminate them or judge them or come off as harsh just because you're something. I'm gonna treat you less than I am, you know. I think that is what makes it wrong. And like I said, it's really hard for us, just like you gave an example of how for us it's man and woman, and anything other than that is completely wrong to our religion. It's kind of hard to like express that, because then people like that are seen as, oh, you're homophobic, or you're discriminating me for who I am. And like I said, it shouldn't be you judging someone. You have your own thoughts, your own beliefs, but you shouldn't make another person feel less than you or less than anyone just because of who they are or who they choose to be.
Yeah, and you don't know what, like, those people, like, maybe their parents, like, they talked about them when they were kids or something, like, or they've been around people, like, family who has been, like, gay, and, like, they see it as normal, you know, and, like, they come into, like, someone who, like, sees that as, like, that's not okay, you know?
Yeah. And going back to religion versus culture, it's interesting to see how they both kind of tie in together. They're two completely different things, but at the end of the day, they kind of do complement one another. And in the podcast, it was interesting that they mentioned that religion is more, it kind of gives more of a weight towards interpretation, because it's very well known that the Bible can be understood many different ways. if you read if you read a scripture from the Bible, you will understand it completely different than I will, because the Bible is not really, as you can say, set in stone, because yes, it has its overall meaning, but everyone kind of interprets it differently and understands it differently. And nobody really has all the answers.
Yeah.
Only God knows, right? Only God knows what he intended to mean when he left scriptures for his people.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's really open to interpretation. So whenever you have a belief based on religion, it can be completely different from my belief based on the same religion. And like they said, it's really open towards how you understand it. Because, like I said, it's not really like facts-based. It's more of what you get from it.
Yeah.
Whereas culture is more set in stone. Like, culturally, if we believe something, nobody's going to change our minds, because this is what our culture believes.
You
and
have
this,
to.
Yeah, this is how it has to be. I know, especially for a Hispanic household, there's a very big stereotype that men believe that they're more inferior to women, and that they have to have charge all the time, and they see women as more of like less, like the man has to be the head of the household, you know. And that's something cultural. Like, they strongly believe that the man has to be
the more in charge of everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when we go to our religion, we see how important the woman is in a man's life. And like, as you mentioned, in our religion, God created Adam first, and then from Adam he created Eve, because he said the man needs
a partner, someone to help him.
Yeah, someone to help him, someone to stand by his side,
to
encourage him. And that's what it is. It's really about having that mutual help, mutual understanding, you know. That's what a marriage is. So, like I said, it's more of like, religion is more, I guess you can say, lenient as to how you understand it. In culture, there's really no bending the rules. It's like, if our culture believes this, there's nothing you can do to change it. And I feel like that's why it's also hard for this LGBTQ plus community to feel like, I guess you can say, accepted, because of how harsh it can be, coming into a culture that is strongly against it or strongly for it, and also religion that ties around it. So it can be pretty controversial when it comes to this.
Yeah, I see what you mean. And talking about like you said, like women have, like, in some religions or like even cultures, that like they're seen as less than males, you know, and like in other states, like females have like little rights, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, like how women are, like, I think I heard about like how women are not allowed to like go out without their brother or like father, like a male company, you know?
Yeah, they talked about that in the podcast, because she was comparing her religion to her culture. And in her culture, a woman wasn't allowed to go out anywhere without her brother or her father or just a man in general. She wasn't allowed to do that. And it wasn't like that for her religion. For Muslim, that was a requirement. So she said that it was kind of wrong how in your culture, like, the women was seen as something less, but her religion didn't back that up. As we were talking about earlier, it's like more of culture is more harsh, because it's something that if they believe it, they're not going to bend the rules.
Yeah, you can't do anything else than the rules.
And now that we talk about bending the rules, I also heard in the podcast that they were saying culturally it's kind of I wouldn't say frowned upon, but it is kind of like surprising to see like different cultures mixing together, as like a Hispanic marries a different culture, you know. It's just kind of like seen as different. And our religion doesn't say anything about oh, you can't marry a person that's not where you're from. It's
Oh,
really about, like, if you love someone, you marry them. You know, it doesn't
yeah,
really
of
have to
course.
do
Mm-hmm.
anything with who they're from.
Yeah.
But culturally, it's really like, oh, no, you have to marry someone that's where you are from. You know, so that's why I go back and say, like, culture is more harsh in the way that they see things, and it can be
Mm-hmm.
really hard to, I would say, like, get out of the routine, because they see it as, this is how it is and this is how it's supposed to be, you know?
Yeah. That's crazy. I mean, you see like people like marrying like other people like from different races. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So imagine like being stuck with like, oh, you have to like marry someone or you have to be with someone from your old culture and like, you know?
Yes. Also, I was going to ask you, I heard also that whenever people from this Muslim culture, they would, religion, they would come out as gay or lesbian,
Mm-hmm.
they would, they wouldn't accept them, and they would force them into an arranged marriage. So regardless of how they felt or what they identified as, they were forced to be married into a marriage they didn't want to. And
Mm-hmm.
I see this as kind of wrong, and I completely understand that religiously you would say, like, oh, I don't accept this because my religion doesn't accept it, but I do see it as wrong to have someone forced into a marriage. What do you think about this?
Um,
Because they also mentioned it, like, oh, like, who are you to decide for
yeah,
me?
yeah. I just feel like it's really wrong because like you're not really happy. Like marriage is supposed to be like someone you want to be with the rest of your life because you want to be happy with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and being forced to like what you're saying to like marry someone who you really don't want to marry, it's like kind of messed up. But even though you can't do anything about it, so you just
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know, just
Yes, it does seem like a very wrong concept,
yeah, of
and yeah,
course.
that is why they mistake religion for something discriminatory, because people do acts like this, and which they shouldn't, you know.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I also heard about talking that religion is supposed to be an accepting and a loving, welcoming concept, and we
Mhm.
see how sometimes they discriminate against these people because of what they believe in.
Mhm.
And I completely agree. I agree that religion is something accepting and loving, and we should transmit our religion, not in a harsh way, but if I want you to convert to my religion, I'm going to come to you with a peaceful manner and talk to you about the love of God and how He wants the best for everyone, right?
Mhm.
But I do see people that take this to an extreme and want to bring culture into it and discriminate people and use religion as a way to discriminate others and say, oh, my religion doesn't accept you, therefore I'm going to treat you bad. And I feel like this brings a really bad name to religion, which it shouldn't, because our religion, like people say, is supposed to be accepting. And I do believe that it's very wrong for someone to use such a beautiful concept and use it as something so horrible. And I think that's why we mix up the fact that just because I believe in something, it doesn't mean that I'm
Yeah.
going to discriminate another person.
Yeah. Mhm.
We are supposed to love our people regardless of anything. We
Of what
love
they
everyone.
believe in. Yeah.
We not believe what they believe in, but we still love them,
Yeah.
because, like our religion says, we are supposed to love even our enemies. You
Mhm.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. Um.
Yes, and also going along with this, I
Mhm.
believe that the way that we treat others can definitely be handled differently. And I feel like this would also help ease all of the problem and discrimination going on in this time period.
Mhm.
I feel like, you know, that quote that always says, like, treat others how you want
Want
to
to
be.
be treated. Mhm.
Yes, I feel like a lot of the times we are not
Doing that.
practicing this,
Yeah.
and that's why we see so much disaster going on, because we come out like so strong and so careless about everything, and we make other people feel bad, and we don't make them feel accepted or free. And it kind of hurts to see people feeling this way, because we are not thinking that we are treating them wrong.
Like, wrong, bad, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, just even the idea of like, let's say like, you want to be welcomed into a place, but like everyone's like pretty much like against you, and you don't know if that person actually wanted to like, you know, be around you or like start a new beginning for them, and like they don't welcome you at all. So it's just like, bruh, you know, like, I didn't know y'all were like that. It's just like, it discourages you, you know.
It gives a bad name to
like the other people who treat them bad.
Yeah. I completely agree with what you're saying. It's very true. And it's kind of, I've heard a lot of people say, like, Christians are homophobic and this and that. And I don't think that it's right that, like I said earlier, and how I've been saying, people use religion to back up their discriminatory acts. And like I've been saying, just because I don't generally believe what you believe in, it doesn't give me a right to treat you bad.
Shut you down, yeah. Yeah, like obviously they come from different beliefs and they think like it's okay, and like when they come to you and y'all don't believe the same thing, you really don't have to like shut them down. You have to like be there with them. Like they don't have to be like, oh, like, dang, I didn't know y'all were like this, like, and then that makes us look bad, like us Christians. But like the Bible says, like, you have to accept everyone, like even your enemies, like you said. So it doesn't matter like where they come from, like what they do, or like they're completely wrong from your religion. You're supposed to accept that they didn't come like from the same beliefs as you. So why would you discriminate them? Like, oh, you're doing this, it's wrong, you shouldn't like be here, like you shouldn't do that. And like for him, it's like, oh, like it's normal to me. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, come off as really strong, and it kind of discourages people to want to establish relationships. Like you said, like maybe they're open to want to establish something new with you, and because you come off as so strong and so, no, I don't accept what you're doing, or I don't accept what you believe in, kind of pushes them down, and it creates a barrier between them and people like that believe in our religion. And it's a bad name for us. And I know for a fact that not all of us are going to treat other people badly. And like I said, it's not really fair how you take such a beautiful concept and use it as a way to make others feel less.
Yeah, because then they were just like they were like how do you say it, like, you know, that person can, like, the one that got shut down, be like, oh, like, dang, like he can go like to someone else and talk bad about Christians, where in reality, like, it's not like that. It's just that person like shut you down, like he wasn't, you know what I mean? And then it gets a bad name for us Christians.
I also heard them saying about how the guy said that he came out of his family, and they were more of a conservative family, but not really religiously inclined. And it was interesting to hear that, because, like he said, he was conservative, but not religiously inclined. And I thought, that's interesting. I wonder what the difference really is, because I know a lot of I don't know much about other religions per se, but I do know ours specifically is a pretty conservative religion. And I found it interesting that you can be conservative but not believe in a religion. And I guess that kind of backs up what we have been saying, because religion is not something that's supposed to be used to excuse your discriminative behavior. And he even said, like, my family wasn't religious, but they did have conservative beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
And, for someone to kind of try to use religion and use it as a way to go against people, like we have been saying, it does bring a bad name, and it's kind of like a messed up concept.
Yeah. See what you mean. How many? Yeah, we got.
Oh, sorry, were you going to say something?
No, yeah, I was just talking about the time. We got just 4 minutes left.
Okay, and I also thought that it was interesting how one of the girls was saying that growing up, going to her classes, she would say that when she was studying or trying to go to learn, she would like to ask questions. And some of her questions led to controversy because she asked questions that weren't ever really asked. And the people there would kind of not want to answer her questions or tell her, like, you're asking the wrong questions, like, those are not things you're supposed to be asking about. And I kind of related that to our religion because, like I said in the beginning, everyone understands the scriptures differently.
Yeah, differently. Yeah.
And everyone's going to have a different answer. Yeah. I can believe something to be wrong, and in your opinion, it's not really wrong. And I do see that a lot, that asking questions is often frowned upon because people think, like, oh no, like, that is wrong. There's no other way around it.
But other people see it different.
Yeah. And so I find it interesting that asking questions is frowned upon, because then how would we learn? You know, your faith is practiced through reading the scripture, through digging deeper, through finding a meaning to relate it to what you believe in and how you interpret it. And if you're not allowed to ask questions, how are you supposed to learn?
Yeah.
And I feel like people from this community feel like this anywhere, because they feel like they can't ask certain questions, they can't feel some type of way because it's frowned upon, because they say, no, you're not supposed to think like that, or you're not supposed to ask those type of questions. And it does tie back to religion, and it does tie back to culture, because the questions they're asking, the things that they're thinking are frowned upon. And with this, there's also a possibility of controversy, because everyone interprets things differently, like I have been saying.
Yeah, like I can read, like, let's say, like, a little part of the Bible, let's say a chapter or something, and then I can tell you what I think from it, what I learned. And when I ask you about it, you get another different meaning.
Yeah, of course. Like I said, asking these controversial questions is frowned upon, and I feel like it shouldn't be frowned upon, because that's the only way that we're able to learn. We can ask questions, we can see how your opinion differs from mine, and that's how we grow. And instead of shutting people down, we should be...
Yeah, because they don't think the same as they do.
Yeah, we should be comparing and
to come to an understanding for the both of them.
Yeah, so you learn from me and I'll learn from you, and we can either agree or we can agree to disagree.
Yeah, I think that's how it should be on doesn't even matter in religion, that should be in life. You know what I mean?
Yes, and I feel like culturally this is also important for people to understand that it's okay to be different. It's okay to think differently than you do.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you believe something doesn't mean that I have to believe what you believe, because everyone is entitled to their own opinion. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see what you mean. Okay. Let's see. Is there another question you want to ask in here? Oh, we're about to finish this up. So yeah.
Listening to the podcast. Sorry, what were you going to say?
No, I was just gonna wrap it up. You feel me? I talk about the podcast as well.
Oh, yeah, listening to this podcast is really interesting to me because like I said, I haven't really taken the time to study
Like
a lot
other
of
religions, you know.
yeah, so listening to this podcast and what they believed in and what they had to go through and their personal experiences being LGBTQ,
Mm-hmm.
it was interesting to hear a lot of the Muslim beliefs and their belief systems.
Mm-hmm.
It was cool to compare it to my religion because, like I said in the beginning, I never really knew a lot of the stuff that they believed in, and to see how they're conservative in the same way that we are,
yeah.
It was cool to hear that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, like I personally like I only know about my religion. I never really like had the chance to like hear someone talk about their religion or like even like look it up. You know what I mean? Like I've never heard about any other religion than ours. And then like you said, like we do kind of relate in the little stuff about their religion and our religion. And like the same thing as cultures, like what they go through because of the beliefs, or like people telling them you have to do this because this is how we did it, or like you have to believe in this because this is how we believe, how we have been like from ages, you know.
Yes.
Well, definitely learned something from this assignment. What
Yeah,
do you
it
think?
was really interesting to me. And
you learned something?
yes, I did. Thank you for making me a part of this. It was actually really interesting to hear other people's experiences and relate culture and religion, because sometimes we don't really think how they're interconnected, but really they do affect one another.
Yeah.
And they do like intertwine, and you see the relationship and how my culture believes how they use religion to back it up, and how sometimes it can be used in a negative way.
Yeah. Yeah, that can also happen. Oh, this was fun. Talk about another religion than besides ours, how they work. Well,
definitely.
Thank you for being part of my assignment, my partner.
Of course.
Well, I pretty much got it. Well, that's it? No? Okay, I'm going to end it now.